Samurai Champloo is a show that I would consider to be very strong visually. The unique mixture of samurai-era Japan and modern hip-hop references, the iconic trio of main characters, the fluent fight choreographies, all of these are images that I think a lot of people can immediately recognize anywhere. Today, however, I want to talk about another visual aspect, one that is more subtle. Today I want to talk about colors. In particular, I want to examine the usage and meaning of colors in my favorite Samurai Champloo episode, the two-parter called Misguided Miscreants. I hope you enjoy, and let's get right into it. In the beginning of Misguided Miscreants Part 1, Mugen and his two companions run into a group of people from Mugen's past. Mukuro, the leader of a ruthless bandit group, and Mukuro's sister, Koza. It is immediately clear that Mukuro and his men are extremely dangerous, as they were attempting to trap and kill the main characters, that is until he saw that Mugen was among them. In this introductory scene we have the two main colors being established, which will continually appear throughout the rest of the two-parter: red and yellow. Mugen is wearing his usual red jacket while Mukuro is sporting a yellow poncho. Mugen of course has been wearing this outfit from episode 1, but Mukuro's clothes are very deliberately designed, as we will see later. In the following scene, Koza gives the rest of the group a bit of backstory on the island that she, her brother and Mugen were born and grew up on. It was an island for exiled criminals, an absolute hellhole with no laws and no safety. This explains both Mugen's rough demeanor as well as earlier scenes of Mukuro still getting by with murdering and thieving. They are all coming from an extremely raw and dark past. A bit later, the viewer then gets to see a flashback of them living there, the scene portraying a constrained Mugen with a firing squad about to execute him. This scene has a noticeable yellow filter on it, which is the second time that the color yellow is being associated with Mugen's past, first through Mukuro's clothing and now on this flashback. Much later, the viewer will actually learn that Mugen ended up captured on this cliff because he was betrayed by Mukuro when they were attacking a transport ship. Mukuro is also seen hiding in the bushes with Koza, who wants to get up and help Mugen, but she is being held back in silence by her brother. The entire frame being drenched in yellow may thus not only indicate their past life on the island, but that Mukuro himself was entirely responsible for the events that are being shown here. Either way, Mugen somehow survived his fall from the cliff, escaped and left. All this time, Mukuro and Koza had assumed him dead. An important detail of the scene is that Mugen did not actually let himself get shot. Instead, he hauled himself into the water, proclaiming that if he has to go to hell, he will do it on his own. Given that Mukuro and Koza never saw him again after that, it is safe to assume that this was the moment he left the island and his past behind and sought out a new life elsewhere. Whether or not he planned on surviving, in that moment Mugen truly took control of his own life. He changed, which is why in the following scene where Mukuro and Mugen are standing at the same cliff in the present, the colors are now different as well. Instead of the yellow filter, this scene is drenched in yellows and reds in equal measure, coming from the setting sun. I believe the addition of Mugen's red color here is supposed to symbolize that he now has agency on his own and is no longer Mukuro's lackey. The location is the same, but the situation has changed. At this point, we need to go back to the plot itself for a moment. Mukuro has another plan to raid a government ship carrying a large amount of gold coins, and he wants to enlist Mugen to help him do it. Despite the protest of his new companions, Mugen agrees to it, but doesn't really explain for what reason he would want to help Mukuro. He brings up that they need the money anyway, but it's clear that this is not his true motivation and that something else about his past is pushing him. The viewer simply isn't told why. Going back to our examination of colors, if you look at Mugen's outfit, you can see that the sling of his scabbard actually carries the same triangular pattern that you can find on Mukuro's and Koza's clothes. Mugen's pattern is also colored in yellow and blue, the colors of Mukuro's poncho and shorts. Mugen is actually shown wearing this scabbard in flashbacks later too, so he does have it from his time on the island. It clearly serves as a reminder to the audience that he has not entirely forgotten where he's from. The next scene then is a crucial one, as it develops Mugen's relationship with Koza, who will actually become the linchpin of this entire narrative. Koza states that she wants to flee this life too and wishes her brother were dead, but she's afraid of being alone. She would rather stay with Mukuro and his gang of thugs who clearly mistreat and disrespect her than try to survive on her own. Now that Mugen is back, she begs that he take her with him, regardless of where they're going. Mugen, however, refuses, stands up and walks away, leaving a depressed Koza behind as the rain starts pouring down on her. This is followed by an extended sequence showing Mukuro's plan to raid the government ship being put into action. The details of this plan aren't relevant. Suffice it to say that Mukuro got onto the government ship with the help of an accomplice of his called Shiren. He was supposed to secure the gold from the inside as Mugen and Mukuro's crew bring their own ship close so that they can carry over the gold and leave with it. Instead though, Mukuro and Shiren betray both Mukuro's entire crew as well as Mugen. They take over the government vessel and blow up Mugen's ship, presumably killing him. Jin, Fu and Koza can only watch helplessly from the pier. This sequence too is mainly relevant for plot development, but there are a few nice details here in terms of color usage. The ship that Mugen arrives with is actually painted in yellow and blue, i.e. it's using Mukuro's colors. This makes sense given that Mugen is carrying out a plan that is entirely in Mukuro's interest. Then later, when he gets betrayed and Mukuro starts setting fire to it, the light actually drenches the ship entirely in red, Mugen's color. Here we can see a great shot of Mugen standing on the now red deck with yellow flames eating away at the sails behind him. Both Mugen and the ship served their purpose and now Mukuro is disposing of them. Also, the gold is entirely in yellow as well, which possibly is smart foreshadowing of the fact that none of it was supposed to go to anyone else but him. Or maybe I'm just pulling these connections out of my ass at this point, who knows. Either way, this is where part 1 of Misguided Miscreants ends. Part 2 begins with a sad musical flashback portraying glimpses of Mugen's life back on the island, all of this while he's drowning in the present. It shows short scenes of him being found by Koza and meeting Mukuro, then building up to the first time Mukuro took him into his crew only to betray him during a plan similar to the one we just witnessed. The flashback is also filled with the yellows, reds and oranges, again reinforcing that this palette has meaning. Throughout multiple shots, yellow is further associated with Mugen's terrible past, like this shot of him beaten and wounded and barely able to stand. Reds meanwhile are once more connected to an escape from the island and his desire for a life elsewhere that he had not yet achieved during this flashback. For example, while collapsing from his injuries, he looks up to see a red bird in the yellow branches, the bird being a classic symbol of freedom. There's also a wonderful shot of a red sky as it tilts down to show a shadowy silhouette of Mugen standing near a rocky lakeside. The red colors are the most saturated in the faraway horizon, indicating how out of reach a new beginning seemed during this moment. As the camera moves closer to the ground where Mugen stands, the reds slowly disappear and make way for the yellows, which represents how the life on the island still dominates his current existence. The music is then interrupted for a scene of Koza and Mugen looking up to the stars as Koza proclaims that she too wants to leave, followed by an image of blooming red flowers. This could imply that them bonding was one of the few moments of beauty they ever experienced in this hellhole. Let's go ahead and summarize the next few plot-relevant scenes. Koza, upset at Mugen's supposed death, begs Jin to kill her brother. Mugen meanwhile survives and is found by Fu on the beach. It is also revealed that Mukuro has been pimping out Koza to Shiren, the guy that helped him take over the government vessel, as a further incentive. Koza is then shown entering a shed where Shiren is waiting for her with Mukuro sitting outside. As she disappears behind the door, Jin reveals himself, attacks Mukuro and kills him. Finally, as Jin looks into the shed, it is revealed that Koza was working with Shiren all along and getting Mukuro killed was part of their plan to run away with the gold. Jin tells this to Mugen, who sets out to end this whole thing once and for all. Now we arrive at the final scene. Note that it happens during sunset, meaning that again the sky is drenched in yellow and red. First, Koza reinforces how afraid she is of being on her own, as she asks Shiren to never leave her. Mugen then enters, confronting the two. He easily strikes down Shiren and starts walking toward Koza. The viewer is supposed to believe that he is going to kill her too for betraying him, but in a final twist he walks past her without a second glance. The final shots of the episode are Koza falling to her knees, begging Mugen to kill her as the sun sets in the background. What's the meaning of this? Koza's biggest fear was to be alone. Despite Mukuro clearly mistreating her and despite her wish to leave, she was so afraid of being on her own that she kept staying with her brother. She would rather continue the unforgiving existence that she grew up with. the life that was symbolized by the color yellow throughout both episodes. Then, when Mugen shows up, who unlike her finally found his own way in life, symbolized by the usage of the color red, she tries to convince him to leave with her. Mugen refuses, so she eventually attaches herself to Shiren instead and escapes with him. It is clear that Shiren is just as much of a backstabbing snake as her brother was, and it seems likely that if she stays with him, he will probably end up abusing and mistreating her as well. So Shiren just represents a different way back into the old life that she hates. By killing Shiren and then walking past Koza without paying her attention, Mugen does two things. He destroys the last remaining ties to her past and signifies that she is not welcome to latch onto his life either. The sun setting at the end of this sequence is thus deliberately chosen. As the night takes over, both the reds and yellows are being drained from the sky and everything turns to grey. Koza, who is absolutely shaken, now has no more colors to turn to. Neither the yellow past that was her brother and his accomplices, nor the red future of Mugen. With his actions, Mugen has made sure that from now on Koza will have to find her own colors in life. This final scene turned my opinion on this two-parter episode from very good to absolutely fantastic. The usage of the two main colors to represent and contrast the traumatic past and a better future reflected in so many details, even down to the outfits of Mugen and Mukuro, is a wonderful artistic decision. It only gets more impressive when you look at the creative ways these colors are introduced into a lot of the scenes, for example through natural means like sunsets and fires that make sense within the context. The final twist and how its meaning is mirrored by both colors leaving the frame is just the cherry on top. Misguided Miscreants simply has amazing cinematography, and if you haven't watched it yet, I heartily recommend checking out this episode and the rest of Samurai Champloo as well. Boken signing out. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Now, to address the elephant in the room, yes, this wasn't video games, and yes, I do have an interest in talking about other types of media as well. So, of course, the main focus of my channel is always going to be games, but I guess I'm wondering, what do you guys think? Do you guys mind? Do you care? Did you enjoy this video, and would you like to see me tackle other types of media as well? Let me know in the comments or on Twitter, which my Twitter handle should be on the screen right now, or on Discord or wherever else we are connected. Anyway, if you liked the video, then please feel free to leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and I guess also click on that bell thingy, because I don't know, YouTube doesn't feel like giving the videos of channels to people who are subscribed to said channel. I don't get it, whatever. Just, I guess, click on the bell to be safe. And if you really enjoyed the video, then maybe consider, sharing it with someone, sharing it with a friend or online. Any bit of support is really deeply appreciated. And I guess I also want to say, in general, thanks to all you guys who keep watching my videos, who keep engaging me and challenging me when I get something wrong. And yeah, I just want to let you all know that I really appreciate all the support you've been giving me over the years. And yeah, I guess I'm going to continue, and I hope to see you on my next video. Until then, bye bye.